Thank you all for coming to Mecha University's second class. Here teaching Falcon is RamenRook. Ramen, if you want to introduce yourself and your team quickly.
RamenRook. Uh, Most of you would probably know me from the International, where I played Falcon and Skyraider for Empyrean. Right now, I'm the co-captain with Caldian for the team called NoName.
Great. So the purpose of our Mecha University classes here is to teach not just the basics, but to go into more advanced tactics on each striker, make you feel like you're able to play at least like a grandmaster general level. We'll say that at the very least, and kind of up your overall skill level and really share that info with the community. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off going into some custom matches here. We're just going to have Ramen show off the different abilities, what they do, what that they can combo into, some advanced tactics that go off of them, and then we'll get into some map specific, striker specific, kind of more into the nuance of things here. So let's go ahead and start this room. And I'm going to quickly switch to Illumi so that Thelian, as our punching bag, does not die immediately. And if you can just ready up when you're good to go, and we will get going. Although, Ramen, you might want to play Falcon so that we're able to demonstrate everything.
I know, I'm just trolling. Puppet is here now.
Okay. Yeah. Puppet, I've invited you to speak really quickly, just whenever you're ready, if you want to do that.
Yeah, I'll just sit
Okay.
here. I need a couple minutes. I'll be right back.
Yeah, you're fine.
Everyone say hi to Puppet. Hi, Puppet.
Hi, Puppet. I do need to quickly adjust some of the stream settings here. So apologies to those.
Eve and Thelian and Pug are getting extra credit for that.
Thelian is definitely getting extra credit. Great. Great. So why don't you quickly talk about each ability? We'll start off with like the autocannon, light missile launcher as the basics there.
Okay, so there's obviously the two forms of the autocannon. The untransformed and then the transform mode. You can see a pretty sizable difference in DPS between the two.
Yeah, and so just a follow-up question really quickly. How often do you always use both forms to do that damage, or do you generally just shoot out whenever you can? Either form specific, or do you try to save it for the higher damage form?
You could honestly get away with just taping down left click. So when you're fighting untransformed, and then you transform, it immediately does it. And then if you untransform, it just immediately goes back to normal. So you can really get away with just taping down left click.
Perfect. And so then there's the light missile launcher, right?
Yeah. So this will account for like, I don't know the exact percent on the top of my head, but I want to say it's like 20% of your total damage. So the light missiles are very important to land.
And are they the same between each form, or is it again any difference between the forms?
They're the same.
Okay. So going next into the recon kit, obviously we don't have a stealth character here, but you can kind of show what that might do. You're able to see that scanning going out, right? And so that scanning, if you want to talk about like its uses.
Yeah, so the scan's primarily used to detect invisible characters, but it can also just be used in general for like vision. So if say someone's trying to cap an extractor and there's some terrain between you and them, but you need a really fast lock. You can scan beforehand. That way you don't waste any time shooting by the time they're in line of sight. Another thing worth mentioning is that it also, you can scan stego smoke, and you can now target everybody that's inside stego smoke with scan. And in this version of the game, you can also scan on Eye of Misra and the moon map during the pulse storms, so that way your team can still fight.
And then obviously you've already been kind of using the wing form, but if you want to explain a bit more about the differences between the two as you kind of swap between both speed and abilities.
So the speed is pretty self-explanatory. Obviously, it's a lot more VN efficient and just faster to fly instead of doing this. Another thing worth noting is you gain a small boost in VN when you transform.
Yeah.
When you're flying, there's 3 modes, which I have disabled right now because I find it to be visual clutter, but there's fast, there's normal, and then there's slow. For fast, you just hold W. For normal, you hold no W or S, and then for slow, you hold S.
And do you usually use all 3 speeds regularly, or do you mostly just stay in one form?
I mostly use W and S. I don't really do the normal one, whether because I don't see like a decent application or I just kind of forget. But I like to use W to like get in, and then once you're close to somebody, if you want to keep them in your sights longer, you would hold S. How long does the roll last?
Yeah, so one of the
1 second.
questions.
It's 1 second.
So to get into dodging here, so we're just about done with the kit here. Of course, the very last thing here is the heavy missile launcher before we kind of move on to movement. But if you want to just quickly explain the heavy missile launcher, and that's all.
Yeah, so the heavy missile launcher is the flight form exclusive ability. So you can only use it while you're flying. And it has a really awkward angle. Or it can be awkward at least. Like from here, it's pretty easy. But if you were to do it from like here, it's obviously not going to hit. Can you fly up, Delian? Or Vulcan? Delian, whatever. It also has really good vertical tracking going up, which is probably, like, it's a lot better than it is going down. Go ahead and land. But like from this range, it should still connect. But you can see pretty quickly, like, only the first 2 connected from there. So it's quite finicky to use. And I recommend not turning while doing it, because that'll just completely fuck the targeting.
Yeah. So those are the basic abilities. The advanced part of Falcon, to my eyes, is really the movement and how you kind of chain those abilities off of that movement. Do you want to start talking about, and so this is going to go into overtime forever, so we're good to sit in here forever, but if you want to go ahead and talk about the different movement options, how you combo dodge rolls together, how you manage your energy, anything like that, that would be helpful, I think, for everyone.
Okay, so first, Falcon did receive a pretty significant nerf to the EN. I don't remember if it's either the consumption got nerfed or the size got nerfed, but it is a lot harder to like stay in the air permanently, as well as just spam shift dodges. So you have to be very precise now, a little bit more tactical with how and when you dodge.
So when you say tactical, are you saying you're keeping an eye on as many people as possible, looking out for, say, like a howitzer shot, things like that? Or is it more when you get into certain situations, you start spamming them?
A bit of both. You can hear when someone is locked onto you. Falcon lost 500 EN per second on the regain.
Yeah.
In
It
air
was,
regen.
it was fine.
Okay.
In air regen.
So that's when you're falling,
That,
essentially.
that's when you're in the air falling. It also uses more energy depending on the movements that you do, I think. It's like,
Yeah.
no, it's for your spiral descent only. That was nerfed also. It uses more EN.
And just quickly for the people here, Puppet, if you want to introduce yourself, Puppet coming a hair late here, but
Yeah, I'm a little late here. I'm Puppet. I'm currently champion 1, climbing my way back up to indestructible. I'm in Inferno Aquila main. I play a lot of Aquila at least right now, just due to how strong he is, and I usually verse Falcons all the time.
and Puppet's part of Team SOS as well too. So
Yes.
definitely is very much in the competitive scene, knows what he's talking about, and really is one of the experts on all the different stats for each mech. Even if he isn't a Falcon main, I'm sure he knows more than
I've
than
versed,
most. Yes.
I've versed enough Falcons to definitely differentiate between doing it correctly and not.
Yep. Yeah. So Ramen, just to kind of go on the movement here, why don't you quickly go over like the different dodge options, like the rolls and the slow rolls
Yeah,
and
sure.
things like that.
So there's three like basic dodges which you can. There's the neutral dodge, which is just straightforward. You can achieve this while holding W, while holding nothing, and while holding S. Then there's the side rolls left and right. That's the most basic maneuvers. You're just pressing shift while flying. Then you have more advanced things like the loops. You have the down loop, up loop. Um,
And so, how do you do those loops as well? If you can.
so for the vertical loops, it's just W space and then shift for going up. And then for going down, it's literally the same thing, just pressing Alt instead.
And so, do you need to hit them all at the same time, or is there some leeway there?
There's some leeway. You can hold W and then hold up, and then once you notice you're going up like that or down, you can just press the button whenever.
Yeah, you have to watch your animation because of the animation time on Falcon himself. Because if you don't wait for the animation, it won't do it.
Mhm.
But it's literally in milliseconds, so
Yeah.
I
You can
know I
see right
mess it up.
here.
And so, a
And then the
quick
other one
question.
is downward spiral, which you do that by holding S and Alt. Now there is some more advanced things about the spirals. You can actually change your speed mid-loop by holding S or W, like at any point in the loop.
And when do you find that useful?
It can be very useful depending on the situation. And
Like,
then there's also going down.
are we talking like an Achilles trying to snipe at you,
Yeah,
and you use that
that
to
was
kind
Like
of
weird.
that,
shake them
yeah,
off,
there you
or
go.
I've never
yeah.
done that before. That was weird.
Do you mind just talking about a couple maybe specific situations where that might be useful for you?
Um, Controlling the speed during a thing.
Yeah, because I think
Well,
for
if you're
a
trying to
lot of
keep somebody
people,
within your like line of sights, or if you want to control how rapidly you descend, or if someone's chasing you and you want to try to get behind them really quickly, that's where like going slow might help. I remember one time I was being chased by a Stellaris and I started the up loop fast and then went really slow once I got to the vertical, like the top of the spin, and it kind of like broke the grapple on Stellaris. There's I have a hunch that I haven't been able to test yet that the grapple can't go up at a 90-degree angle. So I think that's like what the loop is really good at. I could be wrong though. I haven't like actually tested that,
Other
but
tether
hopefully we'll test it
mechanics
today.
with most strikers is if you go out of view, the grapple will break, but Stellaris has been kind of weird with buggy stuff.
all right.
Usually how the tether works.
Yeah. So why don't we kind of talk really quickly too about your positioning relative to your team. We can start kind of talking specific maps here, but just from a general perspective, what's generally your goal as a Falcon player? Are you usually trying to play forward? Are you usually trying to play defensive? Is there certain strikers that you see and you immediately lock onto, and just say I'm chasing this person? Kind of how do you position yourself like in any fight in a general sense?
Oh, that's a good question. Actually, I didn't mention that. All the roles break lock on. So like this, this, it all breaks lock, everything. Okay, and as for the prompt, I will say it's a very hard question to answer. I think there's a lot of different ways that people like to play Falcon, and I'm sure there would be other people that would disagree with me on how exactly to play Falcon. My rule of thumb is generally the faster a character is, the more responsibility they have. Which means as Falcon, you have to be able to control the objectives on a map. You have to pick up any kills where someone is low and they're kind of like out of reach of your allies. You need to be able to peel for your allies. I think if your best matchups are the snipers, yes, Falcon is able to solo burst down Welcome Box,
Yes.
which we will demonstrate in a little bit.
Yes. We got into a few different striker specific things, but yeah, please continue. Sorry.
Your best targets, or like your easiest matchups is probably a better way to put it, are the two snipers. They really can't do anything to you if you're doing a lot of dodging and you have them in the correct position.
So quickly to kind of follow up on this, I know a lot of people have been thinking about Akila's a very strong striker right now. Do you find that the buffs to the Aquila Claw are affecting you more and you're getting hit by those more and that's more of a worry, or do you still feel relatively safe in that situation?
I still feel pretty safe. I haven't had any issues with the Aquila Claw in particular.
All right, so why don't we do this while we're still in this match here? I want to show everyone, well, Darlene, if you could come stand in the center here. On a lot of different maps, right, Welkin is an S tier pick, I think for almost every map. And one of the biggest problems with Welkin is Welkin box, right? Not a lot of strikers have the ability to break the box or get through it. Falcon is one of those characters. I think it's worth talking about how a Falcon would deal with a situation of a Welkin boxing off a point and a Falcon defending it. So if you want to, Thelian, when we give you a quick countdown, throw up a box, and Ramen, if you can just quickly explain what you're doing to break the box as you're doing it. Right, so...
Very simple. Dump everything you have into it.
Oh, it did actually time out. I didn't realize it ever timed out.
I lost. What the heck?
So why don't we go into a specific...
It did all the damage though. What do you mean?
That's okay. We'll go into a specific map here, and we'll pop Puppet in as well. Puppet, if you want to hop on Falcon. You volunteered, so you will also show things off. Puppet, I don't think I actually have you on my friends list here. So, Ramen or Thelian, if either of you have him, if you can invite him.
Unless you have the password.
Yeah, I will DM you the password.
That works.
I don't think I have Puppet added.
Yeah, I don't think I added either you. Whoops.
Puppet just doesn't want to hang out with us. That's okay.
I keep forgetting to send friend requests, I swear.
Something, okay.
Well,
I sent you the password.
I was like, I could just.
Yeah, I sent you the password.
Okay, be there in a sec.
So I'm going to quickly swap the map over to Misra, because in my opinion, or we can either do. Why don't we do one of the new maps here? We could show off Stellar Observatory because I think something that this large is a benefit to Falcon. Ramen, I don't know how you feel about that as we get in, but we will start up the match. And if you want to quickly talk about this map as we're starting.
Big map, big open skybox. Flyer's good.
Welcome, ready to strike.
So to that point, right? Big open skybox. Say an enemy team has now 2 snipers because they're like big open skybox, right? Do you start getting worried at any point, depending on the number of snipers? Or is it just like you have tons of room to work with and you feel safe?
So, when dealing with multiple snipers, my advice is to pick one and then try to work your way through it while avoiding the other one. If they're playing right on top of each other, it'd probably be easier to focus the Naru first because they're squishier. In order to like get close to one of them without being targeted, I recommend flying close to the ground and using as much terrain as you can to block line of sight.
Alright, so this is a perfect map to really demonstrate the problems with Welcome Box right now and how difficult he is to deal with at times. So, Thalian, if you want to come down here, like you're going to be capping this A point. Obviously, this A point is a little more protected than most of the points on this map, but the idea is the same, right? Of a Welkin puts up his box on the point, he will get the cap almost for free. So, Thalian, when the point comes up, I want you to box and try and cap, and Ramen, just you break the box if you can, really quick. Just one of you guys, preferably.
I didn't hit
Ramen.
missiles, so it's all good. It was just machine guns.
Okay. But you can see it breaks through pretty quick, right? That said, Ramen, from your perspective, do you feel like your weapons reload often enough that like every time a welcome box goes up, you can always crack it? Or is there ever times where you're like, crap, I don't have missiles kind of thing? Or do you feel like your damage is consistent?
If you don't use your missiles for anything else, then you will always have them up when it's time for welcome box. So if you need somebody, like if your team desperately needs somebody to be able to crack box, you can commit all your damage to breaking box. I think it's worth noting the Welkin smoke that blocks EN damage does block the missiles, the heavy missiles, I think.
Oh, the shield well.
Yeah.
So, Thalian, if you want to go ahead and show that.
Alien use shield.
Yeah.
Resist.
Yep.
I think I hit the top of his head on that one.
So you obviously need to be a little bit mindful, but I think that's one of the big tools for Falcon right now that's keeping him in a decent state is his ability to at least stall out the Welkin, get damage through his box. Granted, his shield does stop that, but you're going to crack the box before you're hitting that shield, right? So to talk this map specifically, and this and Cape Blanc, as they're both kind of the similar maps and both very good for Falcon players. I know ORCA specifically, we banned this map quite a lot at the Invitational. So, well, we banned Cape Blanc quite a lot at the Invitational, and put Falcon out for it. Sorry.
I'm sure this will be a very popular band.
Yes. That said, when you're playing this map, right, how are you rushing to every side point as they come up? So right now, A is about to come up, right? There's a fight going at B. Ramen, do you feel like you always stay at B and stick out that fight, or are you always running to the next point kind of thing?
I feel like it's situational. More often than not, I would say probably you'd want to go and contest the other point. But like, if your team is getting rolled and there's no pressure on the other point, it's probably better to stay and fight. But if they have someone like a Stellaris or their own flyer, you're gonna want to go in and like challenge it so they don't get a free cap. And if there's no one there to challenge it, you can just get a free cap and then get back to the fight quickly.
Other note. So did we talk about everything that did change with Falcon in general?
So we haven't talked through the changes
Compared-
yet. I wanted to kind of get you in here first before we did.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
if
Yeah,
you
we
if
can
you
do
want to
that
take this
whenever
up,
we're ready.
yeah, if you want to take this opportunity to talk about a couple of changes.
So everything with Falcon has kind of changed since the February OBT. He actually got a number of nerfs, which was air regen, more energy when he uses spiral, so he's less incentivized to use spiral all the time. He also got I think this is actually a pretty big nerf, he got a lock-on range nerf by 80 meters. His old lock-on range would be 210 meters. Now it is 500. It is 530. To recheck real quick. I think that's the map.
So, quickly, as a question while you're
Yes.
getting that,
I found it. Go ahead.
when you're say further out than that, further out from lock and range, are you still trying to sometimes shoot out missiles to delay a point? So say you're further out than the Welkin, do you feel like you can reliably land missiles from further out than that, or is that just you're like, all right, just gotta hold it and get in?
Nah.
Reliably is a tricky word. You could probably do it. Like, I think I can do it from here. Yeah, I did land the missiles, but
Yeah,
if if they're moving or like rotating around the point, like it might be a little bit trickier. I don't know.
Yeah, the missiles have a like 540 meter range. They'll blow up if they're not within the lock-on range.
Okay, so they will blow up at their max range.
Yes.
Yeah, like that.
Okay.
They did whiff.
Yep. So with Falcon, since he got a pretty big nerf in lock-on range, he has actually less engagement range that he can use in his kit. They gave it back though on his Falcon radar, which doesn't really help with it being a 30-second CD, but it gives you 100 when you have your Falcon radar up, it gives you 100 extra meters worth of range, which is actually larger than February. But 630 meters every 30 seconds or so is not exactly very conducive to doing damage when you needed to deal with Stellaris, Narukami, any of the stealth, you know, or Stego Smoke.
30-second cooldown's always been my biggest complaint. Because there's a lot of things that Falcon would prefer to scan. And it's like, you can only have one.
Yeah. So why don't we close out of this map here really quickly, and while we're still talking, let's go over to another map and show another situation here. Delina, if you could swap over to Stellaris. I just want to show the recon in action and kind of how that's utilized on, you know, say a map like Misra, you can kind of go into.
Useless to run when Falcon has eyes on you.
And while we're going, I'll ask some questions while I'm changing over to the map here. One of the questions that came in before is, should you aim to get a kill on Aquila in one fuel cycle, or is it okay to take a few hits and runs to get to them? Like, should you stay in a prolonged fight with them, or is it just like, if you can't get them in one go, you give up on it?
I would say if it takes you more than 20 seconds to kill the Aquila after you start engaging with them, it's too long.
Yeah, you're probably gassed out by then, and then the Aquila can just chase you down, and you're in a really bad spot. Like 15 seconds, the Aquila is not really going to do a ton of damage to you, but it's gonna wait. Like if you can waste his time in a guard, it's actually pretty beneficial to the team. But you have to measure your engagements.
And there was kind of a follow-up question related to that. Was that in most scenarios, should I, the person who asked the question, be trying to spread out damage across the board, or do I focus in on one, and if so, usually how long? And again, you already kind of talked about 20 seconds roughly. But do you generally just spread out across the board and then look for those single picks, or do you just always hunt one person?
It would depend on how much of a nuisance they are, I think. Like, if the core damage on their team is Aquila or Naru or things like that, then I would say don't let them play the game. But I also think tunnel visioning is not a good thing. Because I do think, like I said earlier, the faster your character, the more responsibility you have to just control the map itself. So if you're not contributing to team fights, if you're not contributing to objective grabs, then you're probably still going to be in a worse off position.
Yeah.
Because you're putting a lot of trust in your team. If you're making the game 5v5 by spending all your time killing someone else, you're just basically giving the game in their hands.
All right, so we're down here on Misra. We have Stellaris here with us to kind of show off the radar and really kind of the effectiveness of it. Obviously, Stellaris has been very prevalent in queue right now. I think you see them in almost every single match at this point, or at least I feel like I do. That said, part of Stellaris' strength is he's able to invis cap certain points. So you can see there goes Stellaris. Ramen's throwing the radar down and reveals that Stellaris, right? So Ramen, why don't you talk a little bit about when you decide to use that radar, because I know it is a pretty long cooldown, and what kind of thought process goes into using that versus maybe just dumping missiles on point and hoping you're hitting him.
Actually, I noticed on this version of the game, they basically nerfed the shit out of stealth capping by still showing like the red circle around their body. So go ahead and try stealth capping me. Yeah, you can see that. You can still see the red thingy, and you can manually aim that. So like if he goes invisible while I'm flying, I can still, provided no one grabs my lock, still shoot him.
Yeah, it just shows the entire silhouette of the striker now compared to just being the red ring when it was like completely invisible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so definitely useful there. And obviously on this map as well, right, the recon will show people through the sand that rolls through too as well, right?
It's a better answer like the question about when to use the scan. First, I guess you would want to identify what your scan is most valuable on in any game. So the things that you really want to like look out for, like I mentioned before, Stego Smoke and Invis characters. So if there's both a Naru and a Stellaris, then it might be harder to like get good use out of scan. And if there's also a Stego in the mix, it's like now you have to consider Stego Smoke. So to that extent, I would say if your scan will give you a kill, then it's probably worth to just use it. And if you're not going to get a kill out of it, I would save it.
Yeah. So really quickly, again, we have Stellaris here. I'm here on Lumi as well. Both of them have direct damage abilities that can go through, right? Stellaris has his sword drones. Lumi has her damage drones. How do you find yourself dealing with, say, a really aggro Lumi that just decides to be like, hey, I'm going to put a bunch of drones on you and just chase you down? Do you feel like you're able to constantly dodge those? How do you feel about like that kind of balance? And same with Stellaris with the sword drones, right?
Dealing with an aggro Lumi is a lot easier than a Stellaris. I would say just literally fly into your team, and if they chase you, they're just gonna die. If they're playing a little bit more safe and like are trying to just shoo you away, so like if we're fighting at sea and then the Lumi gets aggro on me, it can be a little different or a little harder. If you do hold like shift, they can't target you. But again, with the EN nerfs, it's like not very desirable to be playing like this.
I would say try to find a pathway where if you use the EIC crystals themselves, like if you can find a path through them, it's actually really beneficial because you can go without EN as long as you can get to some crystals, get your EN back, and that Lumi can't lock onto you. But Stellaris is another issue where it might be a death sentence going to those crystals.
Yeah, so why don't you talk about the Stellaris matchup a little bit? Because Stellaris obviously has the other kind of relationship with Falcon where the grapple will pull you out of flight form, right?
Go ahead and kill me. A reset.
Corruption mode.
Average ranked experience.
Yep.
Yep. So, Puppet, if you want to briefly talk while he's respawning, if you have any thoughts about kind of the Stellaris matchup there.
I just feel like Stellaris is just in a very strong state. He's just good against like a lot of different targets. Aquilas, he doesn't care about their lock loss. Ramen, with like Falcons and all that. Whoever plays Falcon,
Warning.
he doesn't care about their lock loss either because of really fast lock on time with 0.3. So it's just a really hard matchup. He just basically counters us right now. Whether the devs decide to do anything else with pick itself is on them to balance. But for now, what we have to deal with is they just are our counter. They're going to kill us at some point. You just have to play with the cards that you're dealt.
Yeah, so talking kind of, they're going to kill you at some point. If you guys want to head over to A, I just want to talk one more thing, not specific, and I kind of chatted with Ramen a little bit about it beforehand, but obviously the A point here on Misra is very cramped, right? And it's similar to the new moon map, right, of that inside point there, although that one I think has a little more room to work with. Why don't you, either of you, want to talk about how you feel like you stay alive in here, how you effectively are able to do damage, or do you just tend to just leave this area and go pick people outside, you know?
Picking runs. I would say don't detransform inside the big room, unless you're doing it next to like a Tricera or a Hurricane, because that's asking for trouble. But like, in a room like this, you can actually hold shift consistently and not worry about being targeted. And then you just come over here for a second, grab some EN, and then you can just do it again.
I'd say the biggest boon for Falcon right now is Tricera is your best friend against any pressure.
So, kind of to that point, in general, across any maps, like, always just be very mindful of dropping out of your form somewhere where you're safe, right? And managing that EN. To that point, something we didn't really talk about quite as much was fast dropping, right? How often do you use fast dropping? Do you find that that helps you keep alive, or do you find that the slight delay when you hit the ground puts you in danger?
So, I don't know if everybody knows this, so I'll go ahead and repeat it for the class. You can buffer shift with fast fall so you don't have the delay. Like that. As for whether or not fastfall is good to utilize, the answer is yes. It's very good. I recommend it. And if you're in a safe spot, you don't have to buffer the shift, which would help with you recovering EN a lot. But if you're in a dangerous position, or like you have to escape a melee and you're in the air, I would recommend fast falling and then doing something called a step jump, which is another advanced move, which is not limited to flyers. Everybody can do this. But that'll like, because if you fast fall in front of a melee, right, you're like asking to be jump attacked. But then if you step jump immediately after, they can't really do it.
So why don't you talk about what a step jump is really quickly?
So, should I plug myself?
You're welcome to plug yourself, don't worry.
Okay, so I did make a YouTube video that covers like step jumping and other basics for the game in general. It doesn't really talk about Falcon. But long story short, step jumping is when you combine dashing and jumping at the same time. So it like conserves a lot of EN.
Yeah. So Ramen, if you actually want to look at me on your stream, I can kind of show it off on Lumi, because Lumi does use that a lot. So Lumi, oh, if I can do it right, Lumi will actually kind of step jump and then fast drop to kind of make use of that, and you basically never run out of EN, right? The lighter strikers can generally use this ability a lot more, which is why Falcon is one of the ones that make good use of it, ones that can have a higher jump. But yeah, generally what it is you're hitting your shift key, your A key, your W, or like either of your side keys, your forward key, and your space bar all at the same time. So you're hitting 4 keys all at the same time, and then if you fast drop and then hit it right again after, there'll be no delay, and you'll save energy on that. So really on any light striker, including Falcon, that is a very useful technique, right? I've never tried it on medium and higher strikers as much. I don't know how effective it is there, but
it's actually pretty effective on Tricera, ironically.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in the
probably the best way to move.
Yeah, so I think that's a lot of the advanced movement though, and a bit of map specific knowledge here. So we're going to back out here. I just want to quickly touch on some of the other maps we didn't talk about, and specifically the other game modes we didn't talk about.
Hold on, don't exit game. Don't
no. Sorry.
Oh, I got him.
Trying to get the kill on Stellaris there.
Trying to kill the Stellaris for all the pain.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't really get to mention how I would deal with Stellaris.
Yeah, if you want to talk about it while we're getting out of here.
Didn't we lose?
That's okay.
Oh, they aborted. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, yeah, do you want to talk about it briefly?
Can we get in a game so I can at least test some theories before I just start telling everybody what to do?
Why don't we hop over to Sinkhole and we can talk that map as well while we're in there, and just generally talk about both Sinkhole and Poseidon Armory, as they're both these 3-point maps that have some similarities. So while we're loading in, why don't I quickly ask you another question from the audience, which was, who do you think synergizes best with Falcon? Like if you're to duo queue with someone, or just in general play with someone, who do you find that you synergize well with as a striker?
Probably a Skyraider or Tricera.
And so you're using Tricera to help break locks when you're running away, right?
And also getting the little drone.
Yeah, and Tricera defensively, SR offensively.
So I do disagree on the whole sentiment that Falcon is just Stellaris food.
I disagree with that too. He's not like everybody is his feed really. There is nobody safe from him in this game right now.
From my experience, it feels like it could be 50-50, like at any given moment. I think the best way to deal with Stellaris is by being aggressive into it. So if you charge a Stellaris with lock, or with scan, and then just dump everything, they take a ton of damage. So then any other pressure that comes their way will just kill them.
Yes.
So a way you can deal with Stellaris is literally killing them before they kill you. If you want to, can you just start chasing me, Thelian, so I can try to demonstrate some. Go ahead and grapple me.
Do you mind just trying to talk through what you're doing as you're going?
I don't know where Thelian went. That's spooky.
Oh, he's above.
So I just broke his thing by shifting and then fast falling, right? That was extremely tight timing, but it is things you can do. If you know a Stellaris is chasing you, you can just do loops and stuff.
Yeah.
I would say if Stellaris is on the same elevation as you in the air, and they try to be aggressive onto you, that's when you would do some step jumps and transform. Another thing you can do is just manipulate the terrain. So like if I know that there's a Stellaris like aggressing onto me from there, I have him scanned, and I'm just like fucking around with the terrain here. He can't really get a safe lock on me. And if you're playing with your friends, you can be like, Stellaris is here, help me, kill this guy, help me. But
So-
again, I'm pretty sure like you are basically impossible to be locked onto if you're right above him.
And I think that's
Just not red
true
line
of a
with
lot
them.
of strikers too. So Falcon can be really good for that, in my opinion. Just being able to get it directly above people.
In all regards, Falcon is still a counter technically to Stellaris. It's just the radar is just very small range.
Hmm. Ideally, what you would do, if you're in a real match against a real Stellaris player, what you should try to do is gank them while they're fighting somebody else. So like the moment you see them attacking your teammate, you go in, you drop the full burst, and then you scan before they can escape, and then you just hunt them down. Because realistically, if I mag dump into this guy, then he's like no fluids, he's at half HP, he's not gonna turn around and try to kill me. His goal is gonna be to get distance and try to get healed.
He's
Yeah.
gonna try to re-jump you. He's not great in a front up like a actual fight. When he can jump somebody, he's got high value. When he's on the back foot, he is in trouble.
So a real quick question we got from the audience here, which applies specifically in this case to Stellaris, but also in general, right? Is is there a reason you can't just loop in place over and over, shooting until they die or move? They made the comment that it breaks lock-on, lots of EN, high ammo count. So what are your thoughts on just chaining that loop in place over and over?
So there's a small window between the loops where I believe you're targetable. Here, just try to grapple me. Yeah, it did knock me out of it.
As soon
looks
as you
like
went
if
to
you
try to do
press-
the loop,
Yeah. You are vulnerable for like a small second.
yeah, and his lock-on speed is so fast. That's the whole reason.
Corruption mode. Weapon not ready.
Puppet sees
Yeah,
my drones.
Like I'm literally holding the button. Like that's
Yeah.
you cannot input it faster than that because the input is buffered.
Yeah, so the short of it being, there's a point there in that loop cycle where you're going to be able to get hit, and so you don't want to quite buffer,
Just for
use
downward
that
spiral,
constantly.
you're quite easy to manual aim.
Mhm.
Like you just saw it there. The Stellaris just. Delian, you're making me look bad.
It's not as easy as he's saying. Downward spiral is easy to manual aim, but at the same time, due to ping, it's hard at times too. Like sometimes you'll literally body a Falcon in downward spiral, but other times you'll just miss every single shot, and it feels bad on your side. Falcon probably feels godly though.
Actually, to
It is
kind of
worth mentioning in the rare Falcon v Falcon. Now,
Support mode.
I don't think you should ever be like trying to kill the opponent Falcon. I think that's like a waste of your time. But if you catch them downward spiraling, it's a very, very easy manual aim for the missiles. Like the heavy missiles.
yeah.
Just a side note.
So Puppet mentioned something there about ping, right? And we actually got a question earlier about this. We played at the China Invitational with no ping, right? Pretty much on the servers there. I don't know what your ping is normally, but do you find that your Falcon play was a lot better with that really low ping, and that it made a difference? Or did you feel like the ping wasn't really a much of a big factor?
I feel like people really overestimated how much of a factor the zero ping environment would have been for Falcon. I felt like it didn't really make a difference in any benefits that your attackers would have in a no ping environment would get countered out by you being better at being defensive in a low ping environment. In a high ping environment, it's where the fucky shit happens. I think you would have an advantage in a high ping environment just because of how like the lock breaking works. But I don't know, I haven't really played in like a 200 ping game before because I
Yeah.
usually just stay in NA servers.
So I mean, you're playing right now. It looks around hovering around 70, high 60s, which I think for NA is fairly common. I don't think there's that much. If you're in
I think
NA,
it's actually better than average. I think most people
Yeah.
are playing around 90, 100 in
Yeah.
most games.
I know the servers are close to the East Coast, so I'm playing with between 20 and 40, depending on the moment. But yeah, I think I don't know a lot of people that are playing with much higher than 100. So that's not far off of your 70. So anything you are able to do right, you feel like anyone else should probably still be able to do at that ping.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. So while we're here on this map briefly, I just want to talk, and we'll kind of head out and talk a little bit more about questions that we have left and some of the quick touch on the meta and Falcon's place on it. This map, obviously, 3 points, 1 middle, 2 side points. What's your general priorities here? Are you trying to get side caps? Are you looking for picks? Are you just kind of doing a combo of the both of them? Or how do you generally play this map when you're playing Falcon?
So the first thing I want to mention is the minimap is your best friend. If you're not utilizing the minimap, I think you're kind of giving yourself a handicap. You can see, I don't know if you guys know, but if you press M, the map does get a bigger version, and it gives you more details, like which of the red triangles is who. So when I play, I'm always looking at that. Delian says you can also press tilde. Wait, is that's not tilde.
Tilde also
Oh, the
works.
squiggly. I don't know what the squiggly is called.
Isn't that tilde?
But anyways,
Well, shift.
on
heading is the
domination,
tilde.
what it's going to
Yeah.
look like for you throughout the game is first, you're going to... Well, I know where the
Yeah.
squiggly is. I'm saying I don't know what it's called.
Anyways, yeah, why don't we continue?
What your game is going to look like on domination is you're going to help contest A with your team. Ideally, you would spawn in, you check the other team by pressing tab, and you would be like, oh, they have this or that. And you would find out like who would bring the most value to their team or who is easiest for you to kill like right off the bat. So if I spawn in and I see that there's a Naru on their team, I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to try to kill Naru before 8 point comes up. And then that's what you would set out to do. Once 8 point is up, you want to contribute to capturing it along with your team, right? Realistically, you're not going to get a kill before 8 point actually activates, but like it's nice to already have your goal in mind. As soon as the side objectives comes up, I'd recommend you already be there to cap it. You're going to want to try to capture the side objectives as much as you can. The perfect situation for your team is to be holding A and then a side point. What I personally do is literally fly between A and the side objective and then just contribute to both. And if there's somebody on the other team trying to cap C or B, then that would take your like full attention. Because the side objectives are the most important for your flyers. A is going to be held mostly by your tanks and your melee brawl.
And so real quickly, obviously there's the new map Poseidon Armory, right? Do you generally play that the same way, or do you think you play it a little bit differently with the water feature being
You
in that
definitely
map?
play it the same way, especially at the start of the game because there's no water at the start. But obviously we don't want to be going into the water as Falcon. I'd argue it's really not that... While it is like debilitating, I don't think it's like I don't think it's lava, right? Like you can still get away with going dipping in and out of it if you really need to.
I say you do have to keep in mind with the water. I mean, it's not true on Sinkhole, but on Poseidon Armory, the lock on the you being seen underwater to be locked is reduced in some instances by the enemy if they're above the water. Not exactly sure how it works quite yet because it just seems to be like sometimes and then other times it's not. But you definitely can't be seen at least visually.
All right. We only have a little bit of time left, so why don't we quickly talk about the kind of current state of the meta and where you find that Falcon fits into that. Do you think that Falcon is always something that you pick? Is it something that you flex into Sky Raider on occasion, depending on the map and the team comp? Really, what are your thoughts on Falcon right now?
Okay. So if you're solo queuing or duo queuing or triple queuing, I would say play Falcon on probably like Falcon is like always good right now. But if you're doing cart, it's probably arguably still better to play Sky Raider. And I do want to mention, like I know this is the Falcon session, but Sky Raider is looking really good right now. So don't be shy about playing both flyers.
Yeah, don't be shy about SR. SR got a number of buffs where he's actually, I mean, in all reality, he's faster than Falcon, saying, too. As crazy as that is. But he is very good. He got the same immunity duration as Falcon also, so he actually has a lot of things in common with Falcon play now, other than not having the downward spiral.
Yeah, you're not going to be untransforming, retransforming, doing fancy little shenanigans with that either.
Yeah, but he is really solid. He's in a very good spot now where he's got a lot in common, where you can pretty much flex both.
Yeah. And then just kind of real quick, if you had to pick one map that you said this is Falcon's best map, always pick it. What's your like hard say on that?
The extractors, the key, or like the core ed extractors, so
So
the
I've
observatories.
yeah, I think especially too, I'm definitely in agreement on that with Stella Observatory. Stella Observatory, I don't know if someone's done the math on the size difference between that and Cape Blanc, but definitely feels a lot larger than Cape Blanc.
It is larger, yeah.
Puppet, I don't know if you know that stat, but I would
Which stat could you say it again?
on how much larger Stella Observatory is than Cape Blanc.
Oh, no idea, but it definitely feels like it's at least two times bigger.
Yeah. It gives a lot of room for Falcon on that map. So
Yeah, that
um,
I mean, I think Cape Blanc and Lava Blanc are definitely Falcon greatest maps. Like
Oh,
a
Lab.
nice light comp on Lava Blanc or Cape Blanc are beautiful comp because the being able to move across the map at light speed, there's not a lot of things gonna catch you anyways.
um, why don't we start going through some of the questions here? I don't know if we'll have time to go through all of them. I'm just gonna go through for another quick 5 minutes or so. Um, One of the questions that we got was how worth it is it to defend your Aquila / Naru when an enemy Falcon is pressuring them, assuming the enemy has an Aquila / Naru?
That is a good question. The answer is it depends, which is like a cop-out answer, but it's very, very hard to justify fighting the Falcon as Falcon regardless of the situation. Especially with Stellaris in the game. I would say the responsibility of peeling for your snipers is not on Falcon anymore. It is on your Stellaris
I
mostly.
would I would never me being in like playing a lot of Aquila and everything. The way that I play Aquila is don't help me, don't save me. I will help you guys kill everyone else, but do not save.
Yeah.
But that's how I play Aquila. That's not how everybody plays.
So quick kind of follow up here. when you're playing something like Sky City, so this is another question that came in. When you're playing something like Sky City, where you can often be a very squishy target, so you're the person that might be the one need defending. What is your main goal? So Akila, it sounds like Puppet, it sounds like you already have kind of an opinion on that.
Yeah.
That you voiced,
The,
but Ramen, do you have any thoughts on Sky City? Are you just trying to play really safe on those types of maps where you're a little squishier, and then a death really matters, or are you still going like as aggro as you possibly can?
Honestly, I would say literally have no fear. Like, there comes a point where you just have to push the boundaries of like what you think you can get away with. And if you get punished and it's a learning situation, but like I literally play like I cannot be killed, whether for better or worse. So I'm pretty aggressive on Falcon on Sky City. I would say your main goals is to one, you want to burn cooldowns for your teammates. So like you want to make the enemy stego pop smoke. You want to try to get them to use their defensive abilities. So like if their Vulcan is playing defensive, you want to make their Vulcan burn their box and things of that nature.
I mean,
You want to
this is
try to keep
another.
people's shields low or like their fluid armor like cracked, especially if it's the team target. But otherwise, you want to be the one also trying to confirm kills.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean,
Uh,
the greatest example is Aquila in this situation where Falcon does really well against Aquila. The longer that you can keep Aquila using up his EN in all regards, the less pressure he can put on your team. And he's probably the best example because Jet Boots is basically a defensive ability in all regards as much as it is mobility. And the more that a Falcon can waste his defense, the better your team is gonna be off with him dead or him out of the fight.
yeah. Another question that we had come in really quickly was, do you have any keybind recommendations that help make the advanced moves a bit easier on mouse and keyboard?
Yes. Okay, so
And do you want to quickly
for
show
like
your
the advanced
keybinds?
movements like loops and stuff, I would say no because I use the default actually because I don't find it to be too much of an issue for me. Some people don't like alt, like descent being alt, but I prefer it because it's right next to spacebar, and you're not going to be pressing like both spacebar and alt at the same time. Um, some people don't like it as alt; they swap it to control. I would argue if you're playing a fire and your descent key is control, you're kind of trolling because that seems like really awkward. But if it works for you, it works for you.
Do you
I
want
would
to
argue,
quickly show your key
yeah,
bindings while we have your screen open?
sure.
I think that would also help too,
Just
that people.
quick plug. If any of you guys like flight sticks and all that, Domo has a flight stick setup that he uses on Falcon, which I respect him for, and he flies Falcon that way. It's pretty awesome.
That is pretty awesome.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay, so for your abilities, I think 1, 2, and 3 is like diabolical from the devs. I think they're trolling us. I recommend swapping your aux 1, which is scan to Q, your aux 2, which is transformed to a mouse button, and then your heavy missiles to E.
or I'm gonna throw something out here. Be like Charlotte here and get yourself an MMO mouse with 12 buttons on the side, and then you can find everything there. Um,
I have an MMO mouse and I still don't do that.
no, I think for me that's especially good, but I know for other people it's not quite the preference to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, in all reality, don't take anything here as gospel for hotkeys. These are all recommendations. Use what is
Mhm.
most comfortable for you, because for me, I'm using every stock keybind that's in the game other than the Unbound Sniper unlock, where I have it set to C. So for unlocking my auto lock. That's it.
All right, so we're gonna do one last question here. I see we have a whole bunch from Oreo that have come through, so we're gonna just pick one of these. Um, this is probably a good one. What should people practice when using Falcon? And I think Ramen, you alluded to that a little bit about showing no fear, and really just playing off of that and trying to learn off of it. But is there any kind of specific thing that you think is good to practice with? Like, is there any of the challenges that are good to practice with, or is it just getting into Verge and putting yourself in these situations?
I'd say the main thing that you need is good EN management. Because if you're aggressive with bad EN management, you're just gonna kill yourself.
Yep.
The other thing, I guess, would be your awareness. Like, first is EN management, and second is awareness. Because having good awareness will let you know in advance, like, where you need to be or what you need to be doing.
Yeah. I think that goes for a lot of strikers here. So definitely good
Yeah.
advice. All right, I think we're gonna end off there. We're a little bit over an hour, so I think we got a lot of good information out there. Obviously, I think Ramen, you probably could actually talk about Falcon for a good bit longer if we went into each map and a little bit more into the advanced tactics and striker specifics. But at a base level, I think we've covered a lot of different information that even just that amount in that hour, I think will take some time for people to learn too. And who knows, maybe a couple months down the line we can revisit this and look at it again. But I just want to say thank you, Ramen. Thank you, Puppet, for coming on board. Thank you all for coming to class today. The exam will be after all the striker lessons are done, so keep an eye out for that. And then next one up, I believe, is going to be Aquila on the 9th. We're also doing that one at the same time. We'll get into that then, but yeah, I think that's a really good lesson to follow up off of this Falcon lesson, because I'm sure the Aquila will have something to say about dealing with Falcons. But Falcon, sorry, Ramen and Puppet, if you want to go ahead and plug your channels or anything, you are welcome to now.
Follow me on Twitch, follow me on YouTube. It's RamenRook. I haven't streamed in like 50 billion years because I've been busy, but I will stream when I get the chance. And I do plan on making more YouTube guides. I'm going to do a much more detailed like Falcon guide first. We'll talk about like map specific things and then like go into details about like each specific matchup. But yeah, if that interests you, please support your boy.
Yeah. And then I'm Puppet. I streamed I think twice since Mecha Break came out. I was mostly focusing on challenge vids. I posted in the VC chat my channel. If you have any trouble with challenges, you can go watch them. I have them all posted starting today. Every single challenge vid is done.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people would appreciate that. I know when I was streaming, a lot of people were asking about Lumi challenges. So, great. Thank you again both for coming.
It's the most viewed video right now, my Lumi one.
Lumi Challenge 4 is tough if you're not used to it.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right. Thank you again, both of you. We'll end here and hope to see you all next time. Bye.